Hello. So definitely we're going to get started. We're going to talk about today um, about the Draymond Green and the Kevin Durant interview that they did. It's going to be off his new podcast that he's doing. It's called Chips, Chips, if I'm not mistaken. Now, on this interview, it is something that was a very interesting interview, and we're going to get right into some of the things that I thought were kind of like not as truthful, to say the least, and some things that I did like about it. As I'm watching this interview, and what I'm seeing is that I like the fact that I'm starting to see players, current active players, that are creating these interviews about themselves. I believe that it's something that is brewing, that is starting to catch the new wave. And I believe it's going to be helping out a lot of professional athletes of controlling their own narrative. With that being said, I will say that, LeBron James is probably one of the first pioneers that's been starting us off his actual show called The Shop. And it's something where he gets current athletes that are playing currently and even entertainers, creators, and they're talking about life and things that they have experienced in their own business careers. So I like that. I like this concept, and I hope this is something that we'll continue to see moving forward. Um, Chips, the definition of chips, what Draymond Green was talking about, this is something that he created this show by that name because of athletes who play the game with the chip on their shoulder. And I often, as being a current athlete, not a professional athlete, but being a current athlete myself, I played collegiate ball in basketball, and I played high school basketball as an all state, all region. So, I was pretty serious about it. And at one point in time, I mean, it was pretty good if I say so myself. But with that being said, it is very interesting because I believe that athletes use any type of bulletin board material or any type of negative situation that have pissed them off in some type of way. Um, Real good athletes have a way in taking that and using it as bulletin board material to motivate and inspire them to go above and beyond and excel at their highest in their sport. So I do like that title. Now, with that being said, KD goes on and talks about in the first part of the interview how he gives a lot of kudos to his early for one of his first coaches, Coach Brown, and actually teaching him the fundamentals about basketball and also teaching him about the fundamentals of life. And that's something that I enjoy. He always approached. It was very interesting to hear from Kevin Durant when he said that he always approaches games like a workout, and he approach workouts like a game. And that's something that was very intriguing. And you can see how his game has matured over time. You can tell that he has put in a lot of work to actually to be a master of his craft. Tis the reason why there's a talks around the leagues and the talks around the world that Kevin Durant is probably one of the best players in the world right now. And that comes a lot from his hard work and dedication to being the best that he can be in his craft. Now, another thing I want to talk about is that, what Kevin Durant was talking about, moving from high school because of his growing talent. And I do know, when I was back in high school, that I knew a couple of people that were moving from different high school to be able to get that popularity, to be able to get at the top, so you can be able to get your name in the pot where you can have scouts coming and look at you, because it does make a difference about what school you play at. And that's something that I realized even back in my high school days. And as you can know, Kevin Durant, he had a growth spurt. And he was just talking about how he always wanted to push the envelope by playing against other top competitors, which he knew was going to make his game even better. And I think that's something that is very intriguing to me on how he wasn't afraid of going against the top players. And he talked on in that actual conversation, that interview with Draymond Green, about being able to say that he was tired of being a number two. He was tired of being number two and he wanted to be the number one. And I believe that was one of the driving forces that allowed him to make the decision to move from OKC to the Golden State Warriors. He wanted to win the championship and he got tired of hearing the naysayers saying things did not work out with him and Russell Westbrook and all of that stuff. And he wanted to be able to say that he is an NBA champion, which it did change the outlook of Kevin Durant. But I want to say something. I will say that I feel that Russell Westbrook gets a lot of things that's said about him, and a lot of people or tag him as being just a me player. And I think it's just ludicrous to me. And the reason why I say that, it's insane because this man is a walking triple double. And to be at the size that he is at and to be able to grab 10 or more rebounds a game and to play with such abandonment, to be able to play at 110% every time he steps on the floor is something that we as viewers and should not take for granted, because I don't feel there will never be another Russell Westbrook. And Russell is not about me, he's about the team, because you don't average a triple double the whole season on consecutive times by being a selfish player. So definitely needed to change that narrative off of him and get that off of Russell Westbrook real quick, because I don't like that. And I do feel when Kevin Durant explained in that interview with Draymond Green that when he did, before he actually got to Golden State Warriors, he was confused about what his role was. And I feel during that time, Kevin Durant was immature and Kevin Durant didn't know how to play with Russell, a player like Russell Westbrook. And he was just probably just learning his role on that team. So I feel that we shouldn't place all the blame on Russell Westbrook why things didn't work out, and just understand that both of those players was trying to grow together, but it just didn't work out in that amount of time that they was teammates together. Okay. And it happens, especially in professional sports. Um, it was very interesting when KD talked about when Draymond Green asked him that he felt that Kevin Durant was a person early in his career that worried about what people thought of him. And he wanted to know, was it hard for him making that decision? And that decision when he made to go to Golden State Warriors, was it a basketball decision or was it him not giving an F decision? And, I feel when Kevin Durant said that it was both, I believe he was being very honest there. I believe he didn't give a F anymore about what people was going to think about him, about leaving Oklahoma City, because he wanted to join a better team. And I believe he had got to the point where enough is enough. He was tired of losing and he wanted to increase his chances to be in a better opportunity on a better basketball team to win a championship. And lo and behold, he won 2 chips. Let me tell you something. I mean, he made the right decision, period. In the story to that. Now, Draymond Green did mention that in his opinion, after they won their second championship, he felt and believed that KD had 1 foot in and 1 foot out already, which means he was believing in his heart and in his mind that Kevin Durant wasn't all in. He wasn't 100% in. And that's why I like Draymond Green, even by default, because I feel he was very authentic in his interviewing process. And I believe he asked those tough questions. Not a lot of people ask questions because they are afraid on the response they're going to get back in return. So he asked the straight up questions that I wanted to know from Kevin Durant as well. And it was very interesting how KD mentioned that, he took the onus off Draymond Green and said it was, the head coach, Steve Kerr. I think it's Bob Myers as general manager, and the Golden State Warriors organization was at fault or blame for the situation between him and Draymond Green. Let me say this. I disagree with Kevin Durant. I feel that he wasn't honest. I feel that he was passing the buck. And I feel overall, the reason why I give the interview process a B grade, I would give it an A if I felt if Kevin Durant would have been honest in that moment. There's been multiple reports. Even Stephen A. Smith talked about it on the first take, is that it was without a doubt that it was because of Draymond Green that he wanted to move on to the next phase in his life with basketball and play on another team. If you go back in that Los Angeles Clippers game, to me it was very disrespectful, based off on how Draymond Green responded to Kevin Durant and how he was doing in front of his fellow teammates and also in front of the head coach. I believe it was very tasteless. I feel when you have a superstar caliber player like Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, even though you may be a superstar player in your own right, but or an all-star player and possibly a Hall of Famer one day, is that you don't have the right to talk to another superstar player like that. It's almost like you're trying to show him up. It's almost like, just look at it from this perspective. It's almost like you're trying to act like you somebody boss, or you trying to play the big brother role, and then the things that you said too was very disrespectful. I'm a firm believer is that sometimes the words that you use can cause an altercation, and it can cause you to go into a fisticuffs with somebody based off of the words. Whoever said that words don't hurt, they're lying. Words do hurt, and with some people you can't use certain words. So I feel I wish that Kevin Durant would have had just been honest and would have said that, what, yeah, I didn't like what you said. Even though we probably have let bygones be bygones and we don't move forward, but I just want to let you know I didn't appreciate what you said. And he went in the interview a little bit when Draymond Green was actually, you have played with Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and myself, and we play with the chip on our shoulders. So how how you perceive, who was the player that had the chippiest shoulder that you had to play with, and he did mention Draymond Green. It was just in that question when he asked him, did that altercation was the main decision why he decided to move on? Say yes. It is what it is. Keep it real. Now let's move on to the next one. Draymond Green asked, no, we already talked about that. Let's talk about KD says that all have a chip on their shoulders. And that's true. I feel that, to be the best, if you go back to history, a lot of players have played with a chip on their shoulder. And I believe it shows the competitiveness in them and being able to take what people say about your game, about your mindset, about how you approach the game, and people want to prove that person wrong. So I do agree with him on that. Now, Draymond Green did talk about, he remember Kevin Durant, used to always have a backpack on in the early career and still do. And he just said the backpack Kevin Durant was a person that used to like talking to the media, that was kind of like, very open and supported the media. And now he sees a different type of Kevin Durant, and how he lashes back and go back, at fans when they say something on social media, and he claps back. How he doesn't cooperate really too much with the actual media, after games because he, and Kevin Durant was, I felt was honest on how he said that he's grown in that area where he speak up for himself more, even how he took ownership of having a burner account on social media account. Now that I think that's a little bit too much. You don't have to create a fake account. Just be yourself. Be you. You definitely don't want a person to change who they are because I feel eventually they're going to burst and they're going to lash out in different ways because they've been who they wasn't, for so long, and there's only so much a person can take. So with that being said, I would say that with Kevin Durant, I feel on some things that you have to kind of bring it down, that you don't have to lash back out at everyone that says, especially on social media, because at the end of the day, you're going to have haters. At the end of the day, you're going to have people that's going to say stupid things. Social media is not the place or the platform to be able to lash out because at the end of the day, you're not going to win. You're a brand within itself. You make millions of dollars. And I understand you have feelings, but at the same token, you have too much to lose and you're at a higher class than that. So who cares about what Peon says on social media? Because everybody has their right of freedom of speech to speak what they want. And I know people have said things to you, Kevin Durant, that has been very disrespectful. I mean, very rude. But I will keep you in mind is that just keep your head up and just keep moving forward because at the end of the day, people want to try to get you to react and get you all upset. And you don't want to do something stupid that's going to hurt you more. It's going to hurt them. Now, with that being said, Draymond Green asks Kevin Durant, did he have any type of regrets from leaving the Warriors and going to his new team, which is the Brooklyn Nets? And I like what KD said. He said, "No, I know we did what we were supposed to do. We won 2 chips, and Draymond Green even said that I believe we would have won 3." And Kevin Durant responded by saying, "Easily." Easily. Let me tell you something. Kevin Durant is a monster, man, and I do believe when both of them said they would have had 3 championships if it wasn't for Kevin Durant getting hurt and ultimately tearing his Achilles. Now, with that being said, they talked about a little segment in there about how do you feel about people saying things or taking action or saying, or doing things, not showing up for practice or probably being a distraction on teams and things of that nature and letting your emotions get the best of you. And Kevin Durant said something very powerful. He said that, you know what, man, at the end of the day, nobody's perfect. He said nobody didn't say or care about when Klay Thompson showed up late for practice or, sometimes didn't even show up for practice. And I thought that was an eye opener. I paid attention to this interview. It was very intriguing. And this is what I like about current players doing this because it allows you to have a different perspective by listening and seeing what else that goes on behind the scenes that we as fans are not privy to. And when he said that nobody didn't say anything because they knew that we was going to win, and we did win. We know we was going to win every night as long as Klay Thompson knew the plays and he played like Klay Thompson. Winning covers a multitude of foolishness. Let me say this again. When you win, it covers a multitude of foolishness. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I agree with Kevin Durant on that because at the end of the day, if you watch the Last Dance and a lot of stuff that Dennis Rodman had did and how Michael Jordan, that particular scene when Michael Jordan said that he had to fly out to Las Vegas and he was with Carmen Electra and how he had to get Dennis. And this was during the playoffs, man. And if I'm not mistaken, this was during the NBA Finals. But if it wasn't the NBA Finals, it was the Eastern Conference Finals, but it was in the playoffs when this stuff was going down. And Phil Jackson allowed him to leave. And I think it depends on the personnel of who you have on your team, whether they're a veteran or not, and whether they're able to take the block out the outside distractions and to still be able to perform and do their job and do their role very, very well. So I think that's the difference. And I believe when you win, it does cover a multitude of foolishness. Now, with that being said, they asked him, hey, Kevin Durant, I'm like 31, or I guess he said 31 or 33. And then, I have three. I think Draymond Green have three. He has 3 or 4 kids, and Kevin Durant doesn't have any kids. And he was asking him, do you want to have kids one day? And Kevin Durant was just honest. He said, man, he just feel that's a big responsibility. And Kevin Durant likes his freedom right now. He likes his freedom because it allows him to focus on basketball and basketball only. It allows him to be able to work on his game so he can continue on that quest and being one of the best basketball players ever. And I thought that was a very profound answer when he replied to Draymond Green based off on that question. And Draymond Green had asked him, if you have, when you have children one day, would you want them to play basketball? And, Kevin Durant gave a very sound response by saying that he don't want to put any added pressure on his future children, and if he decide to have some later on in life, he wants them ultimately to enjoy life, have peace with themselves, and understand that there's no pressure, or he don't want to create pressure to put on his children that they have to perform on a level because based off on what he did in his life. He wants them to live their life in their own unique way. And I believe that's what you have to like about Kevin Durant at the end of the day, is that he's a man that, he is a very interesting man. And some of the things I may disagree with him on, he's not perfect, just like me. I'm not perfect. I have said some things that I didn't mean to say. And who's to say that if I was in his shoes and certain things said, it would piss me off, because you got to realize if I'm in Kevin Durant's shoes and I feel I'm the one of the best players in the game, then you're not respecting me and what I bring to the table. And the media sometimes can be assholes, I believe, sometimes based off on the questions that they ask. And sometimes the media has to be prepared for those responses that they will get. Now, with that being said, I just want him moving forward to understand is that you don't have to respond to every time when someone says something that you don't like in a harsh way. Sometimes you have to, this is chess, this is not checkers. And sometimes you could be confident within who you are and know that what you're doing, because you are a hall of famer already, and you are world class talent. Keep your head up, brother, man, and just understand I'm proud of everything that you're doing. So keep on showing your skills, your talents, and I wish you nothing but the best in your futures endeavors. And same to you, Draymond Green. Great interview, y'all. Great interview. I'm looking for more interviews like that, Draymond Green. Wish you nothing but success on your actual show, your podcast, your YouTube, anything that you're doing outside of basketball. I appreciate your grind and your hustle. And I know you're going to ask those hard questions that a lot of media analysts are not going to ask. So keep doing what you're doing, because I like it. So this is Samuel Richardson III YouTube channel. Please make sure, if you like this video and you like my breakdown of the interview, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that bell notification so you can get notified when the next video is on its way. Take care and God bless.